In May of 1971, the anti-Vietnam War resistance called for 5 days of action in Washington, D.C. The Austin Armadillo May Day tribe made its way to the nation's capital, and so did Austin's movement attorneys. Over the course of 5 days, more than 12,000 people were arrested in the capital, making it the largest mass arrest in U.S. history. Later that month, the Lyndon Johnson Presidential Library was slated to be inaugurated. On the invite list, every name of every Vietnam War architect was there, and anti-war organizers began to mobilize.
My recollection is that we dressed up in witch costumes and went to the LBJ Presidential Library, which is being dedicated on the campus of the University of Texas, I believe, in Austin. And the dedication was happening that weekend of the library, and there were going to be all kinds of war criminals there, including Henry Kissinger. And we put a hex on the fountain. We danced around. I don't know what the subject of the hex was exactly, but we danced around and did some hexing.
And then they made their way downtown through the Capitol Rotunda and into the television station that was owned by the Johnson family. Shortly after they made it out onto the street, they were arrested. It was the first protest reported on for the LBJ Library. 7 women were arrested in downtown Austin for disturbing the peace. Among those arrested was Barbara Worley, also known as Vernell Pratt, a singer-songwriter.
Sitting in the Austin jail, waiting on someone to go my bail. Singing in the streets was the name of my crime, but I'm not all alone. I've got sisters of my own, and they're together when it comes the time.
Inside the city jail, the witches made such a commotion with chanting and with music, earning the camaraderie of other inmates, and the police were very happy when the attorneys showed up to bail them out. Their trial was scheduled close to Halloween, and Cam Cunningham represented the witches in the municipal court of Judge Ronnie Earl.
One of the cases I always loved was there was a big anti-war demonstration, and 6 women dressed as witches were arrested. I don't remember what the charge was. It was some crazy charge. And we set a trial for them in city court, and Ronnie Earl was the judge, and we had the courtroom full of people. So before the trial was going to start, Ronnie Earl said, why don't you, Mr. Prosecutor, and Ms. Kane, come back and let's into chambers. And he said to the prosecutor, are you really going to try this case? I don't see that there's that. I mean, people were dressed as witches, but what law did they violate? And the prosecutor kind of, so Judge Earl said, well, I think I'm going to dismiss this case. And I said, Your Honor, before you do, I need to talk to my clients, because I wanted to make sure my clients would accept a dismissal. So I went back out in the courtroom and I said, the judge is going to dismiss the case. We won't have a trial. You won't get a chance to testify and stuff like that. And it took me a little while to talk them into accepting a dismissal, that's the first and last time that ever happened to me, where I had criminal clients who needed to be persuaded that a dismissal was okay.
But the hex remained in place. About 2 years later, cracks emerged in the marble facing of the LBJ Library. The regents went into legal battle, and contractors were forced to foot a bill for over $1 million in damages.